so I've come on to show you the finished Scraptember journal. So this was a list of prompts in Junk Journaling UK, which is one of the groups I'm in on Facebook. So each day there was a prompt. You did a prompt a day, made it into a journal, and this is the end product. So one of the prompts was to make dangles. So there's one of my dangles, or 3D elements for your journal. So that's one of those. Another was to make something out of scrap fabrics, you know, some kind of closure for your journal. So I made that, which wraps around it twice. Another prompt was to make beads. Here are my beads. These are paper beads. You had to make them out of scrap paper, so that's that. And then another one was to make a scrappy cover. So I've got all these hearts all cut out of scrap paper. They were actually gifted to me. And yeah, I've used all of those to make my cover with, which I thought was quite nice because it's all different papers. This was a piece of scrap fabric too. Then another thing was to make frames out of scrap paper. So there's my frame. Another thing was to make tickets. So I've got a couple of tickets there that I made. Faux travel tickets. I made a bookmark which has a tassel on it, and some little birds out of scraps. It's all done out of scraps, things, you know, that you have in your scrap pile. Then we had to make little labels. So I made this little vintage looking label with my B stamp, and I just wrote just words around the outside of it. Then we had to use fabric, so I made a fabric. I actually have had this for a while, and it is a scrap, so it is a fabric element that I've added to my Scraptember journal. Then we had to do zigzag or accordion. So my accordion piece was this. Other people have done envelopes that open out, you know, like an accordion. This is to write on. You can write on both sides of it, and I decorated the front of it with that little bit like that. Another thing was to make the tags. Here are some page edge tags you can see going through. There's quite a few on the edge of some of the pages. Corner pockets was another thing. Envelopes was another thing out of scraps of paper, so that's little envelopes that are folded. Another thing was to make a specimen card. So this was from a doll box. The actual acetate was from a doll box, and I've got strips of paper that I've glued around the edge to make the frame, and then I used a little sticker and wrote on it to make it look more like a specimen card. Another thing was to make it said a banner, but I thought I'm going to make a more of a what do you call it, more of a bunting than a banner, but similar thing, I thought. So there's that. And then this as well was another thing, make some little scrappy clusters. So I've done that. There were 30 prompts altogether. I had a bit left of that material, so I popped that there and put that other little 3D element on there, the little dingle dangle I call them. Over here we have a belly band which I made from a scrap piece of paper. This I've had in my scrap box for ages, so I used that in here. We had to do a sewn notebook, so that's my sewn notebook. That's a journaling card I've had for ages, so I used that in here. Yeah, and they all fit nicely into the belly band, and I can even put my notebook in like that if I want to. Over here we've got another fabric element. We've got some tags. The tags were made from a Santoro Gorgeous box, which is quite shiny, but I did check you could write on it before I used it, and you can. I did cut these pieces out from a Santoro box, cover it with a piece of scrap paper, and then decorate it. So I've done that with both that one and that one. They're both from the same box. This was a butterfly I'd had for ages, years I've had that. And then I made this pocket out of some scrap papers. This is a paper clip just clipped onto the front of there, and that's another little envelope. We've got another little tag there. We've got some washi tape there, and somewhere I have mislaid my other piece of washi tape. This is homemade washi tape. Yeah, on here we've got a little notebook that I made. It was you had to change an envelope, so it was a junk mail envelope that was this size. I folded it in half, made it into a notebook, lined the inside of the cover with that paper that was scrap paper. This was gifted to me. I used that on the back, really like that. And then on the front, this was a piece of scrap paper. This was hanging around in my scrap box, and this is actually a paper bag. You can actually put something in there, and something in there. So it's a really useful little notebook to have, because you can fit quite a lot of things in there. Another thing was library pockets. So here's my library pockets, and they've got little library tickets in them. This is another journaling card made from scrap paper. Another corner pocket there. Over the page we've got another journaling card, another envelope, and this is another hidden paper clip. On here we've got a hidden paper clip. These can be taken off and used wherever you want in the journal. We've got this, which is a fold out. So this is just a little thing to show you that, you know, it can be used. So in here we've got a little pocket and a little journaling card. Then on the rest of the pages you can write on. You can write on there, and you can write on those two. So it's glued onto the page like that, and it's sort of an accordion fold out. Over here we have a floating pocket. A floating pocket is a pocket that can be moved around in your journal. It's just a pocket that you've made. I made this one out of an envelope. I did make it out of an envelope. And it's got a big journaling card in it that was in my scrap box. I put things in my scrap box that I've put to one side for a journal and not used in it. I'll pop them in my scrap box. Or things like this. It says, anything is possible when grown with love. But it makes a great journaling card. Scraps of card here. This card is from a tea box. This is from when I was making an ATC card left over. Like I say, I pop them in my scrap box and in my scrap drawer, and then I use them for other things, and this time it was for my scrappy journal. These are scraps of paper made into a corner pocket, and inside there I've put this little journaling card that's been hanging around on my desk for ages. Then on here we have another pocket. This was a, oh, don't tell me I've ruined it by gluing it in there. Ah, come out, you devil. This is it was a postcard, and it had a town scene on it, and I printed off, it was a long rubber stamp about that length, and I printed it, stamped it onto a piece of plain paper, coloured it in, then I went over it with a wet brush because it was watercolours, and then I glued it onto here, and I made it 3D. It's these bits, 3 bits here are glued on with the foam pads so that they are raised up from the thing, and I actually really like that. So that's in the back pocket, and then in the front of the pocket I have another library card with more, oh, I've got a lump of glue on my thumb there, with more library cards inside it, more cards inside it to write on. And then at the back I've got another one of the frames that I made from scrap paper, and that is my scrappy journal. And then also I'm working on this month's ATC card, not this month's, this week's, and the prompt is feathers. I've got my feathers, I've got my little bird, stamped the little bird out, and then I'm going to, I've found this in my stamped images box. I'm going to colour that in and put it so that the bird is standing on it, just there like that. Then I'm going to put a sentiment across the bottom here, and possibly something there too, I don't know yet. I'm going to put that on first and see what it looks like, and then decide whether I need something there as well, and decide on the sentiment. So yes, that's as far as I've had this done for a week, and I keep looking at it and I keep looking at it, but my lovely friend Zoe suggested that I have it sitting on a bird table, and then I saw this and I thought, oh, that's really pretty, I like that, I'm going to put that there instead of a bird table. We'll have a little bird house for it to sit on. It can be a giant bird on a tiny bird house. And then yeah, I'm going to colour it in, and then I'm going to fussy cut it out, have the little bird standing on it, and then I'm going to have a sentiment across the bottom and maybe something there. So yes, that's what I've been up to, and the next thing I'm going to do is Tagtober, and I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the month. I've got quite a bit of catching up to do, but I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.